Hello folks, before this video begins I want to very quickly touch on the medical emergency that happened at Grenoble Road at the end of the Luton game. So in the 90th minute, if you are not aware of what happened, there was a lot of commotion going around towards the right side of the east stand in block 21 to be specific, as it appeared that a fellow Oxford supporter had collapsed. So we weren't sure kind of what was going on. There was a lot of kind of panic because obviously, you know, we'd seen this at Portsmouth just a few days previously, and you know, thankfully it seems that the person got the assistance they needed, and according to the club statement, they're in a stable condition. I want to send my well wishes, my thoughts to them, and hopefully they make a full recovery and we can see them at Grenoble Road very, very soon, because it's a well-worn phrase, but it doesn't make it any less true that no one should ever go to football and not come home. Welcome back to the Sam JW channel. Gary Rowett's Oxford United come from behind twice to grab all 3 points in a game under the lights at Grenoble Road against Luton Town. Let's talk about it. So yes, Matt Bloomfield's first away game as Luton Town manager ends up in defeat. Gary Rowett with another big 3 points at Grenoble, and this was a very, very interesting game of football for many, many reasons, as we'll go into throughout this this video. We'll start obviously, well, we always do, with the lineups. So JB Cumming started in goal, Peter Kioso, Greg Leigh as per usual as the fullbacks, Ciaron Brown and Michal Helick continuing as the centre backs, same with Will Vaulks and Ciaron Brannagan in the centre of the defensive midfield positions. Matt Phillips replaced Ruben Rodriguez as the 10, Sariki Dembele on the left hand side, Shoni Porheta on the right, and Mark Harris up top. We'll go into one or two of those players because yeah, there's some good performances in there and also some not very good performances as we'll go into. Obviously this is a Luton side that were in the Premier League last season. Obviously not a whole squad of Premier League quality, but definitely players that have got you know, good enough to be up there. I think Marvelous Nakamba's you know, when he first arrived at Villa, there was, you know, he was very highly rated. You know, Adebayo is obviously, I think he got over 10 goals, didn't he, last season in the Premier League. So, you know, just picking up those two players as an example, they've got some talent in their squad of Luton. You know, they've had a really, really bad start to this season, obviously, which led to Rob Edwards losing his job in December, and they replaced him with Matt Bloomfield. And it's going to be interesting to see if Matt Bloomfield can turn this Luton side around going into the rest of the campaign. But of course, we're focused on Oxford United. Let's have a look at the first half because, well, this was not a good first half from Oxford United, to say the least, I think. So it's definitely a case that Luton started the better of the two sides, I thought. They looking on the front foot. There was definitely an extra bite to their attacking play in that first, I'd say, 15-20 minutes. And obviously they are rewarded for it with an early goal inside 12 minutes coming from Krauss. It's really poorly dealt with. There's a set piece, I think was a corner kick, that's really poorly dealt with by Oxford. Greg Leigh and Ciaron Brown, neither of them gets rid of it in the first instance. Then Krauss manages to take it round Mark Harris and Brannagan, who again can't get rid of it, and then he fires it into the side netting. It's a really good finish, shocking defending from an Oxford point of view. Yeah, and for the first time under Gary Rowett, Oxford go behind, and it certainly was not looking like we were going to get back into this game. But we're only 2 games in. I will preface that we're only 2 games into his to his Oxford career, but Michal Helick is looking like a very, very useful player in both boxes. because of course he gets us back on level terms. It's a lovely bit of play down the left hand side between Greg Leigh and Ciaron Brown. Brannagan whips it in on his left foot, and it's a brilliant finish from Michal Helick. Luton's number 29 loses him in the air, and Helick with the outside of his foot flicks it past Kaminski, and it's 1-1. And yeah, I think he looks like he's certainly enjoying his first moments as an Oxford United player. And yeah, that was it was a really, really good finish from Michal Helick. And yeah, we're already falling in love with this big Polish centre back. But Oxford's set piece defending lets him down again, because just 3 minutes later McGuinness gives the visitors the lead for the second time. Ball's whipped in from a free kick, and it's not dealt with by Peter Kioso, who's meant to be marking McGuinness. Jamie Cumming did his absolute best to try and claw it away, but the ball had clearly gone over the line, and it's 2-1. And I will say, I think for the most part, I think the visitors deserve to go in at half time with a 2-1 lead. They were slightly the better side, I thought, definitely in the attacking phase. There is a moment we do need to talk about, and that's before Michal Helick's goal. When Luton are 1-up, there is a foul made on Ciaron Brown from 2 Luton men. A lot of discourse whether it was a penalty. I don't think it is. The foul is committed outside of the area, but Shemi falls into the box because that's where his momentum's taking him. It should have been a foul. It should have been a free kick, but it should have been a penalty. So, that controversial moment we can kind of get out of the way nice and quickly. Foul starts outside the area. Shemi's brought down. It's not a penalty. It's a free kick that should have been awarded, but it wasn't. We've had those go against us before, and we've not complained too much. So we can't exactly stand here and be all righteous, asking for VAR or for other nonsense. So yeah, I mean, looking at the more in-depth side, passing ever so slightly better for Oxford, but as you can see, in terms of the overall passes, Luton were more efficient in terms of playing the ball in the opposition half. As you can see there, 2/3 of our passes are coming in our own half, whereas for Luton, I think we're looking at it's about, my maths isn't great. It's about 40%, I think, of their passes are in their own half. In our half, I should say. Much more efficient, which showed that Bloomfield had sent this side out there to be more attacking, try and get control of the ball, get control of the game, and from their point of view, make up for a very dull draw against Preston at the weekend. But things did turn around, and ironically, it's 2 set pieces and another 2 defenders. So we'll go for the first one, which is obviously Ciaron Brown. Corner kick, whipped in by Ciaron Brannagan, and again it's Luton's number 29 and then number 27 that don't mark Ciaron Brown properly, so he's able to wriggle through, and on his left foot with the outside of his boot, similar to the way Helick did it on his right foot, curls it with the outside of his foot past Kaminski. We're level. I thought we definitely started the second half a lot better, and getting the goal was kind of the perfect moment, because we're an hour in. It's kind of when the game's starting to turn, and yeah, it's definitely a case of, like I say, I think it was a case we did deserve that equaliser with the way we started the second half, but we didn't stop there. Throw-in is taken with 20 minutes left. and it falls to Will Vaulks after I believe he was the corner kick taker, and he bends into the area on his right foot, and Greg Leigh is completely unmarked at the back post. The easiest header Greg will ever have. It's so simple, and he nuffs it in the back of the net. Reminding me a little bit of I think it was the header he scored against Port Vale, his first Oxford goal. It was a very simple header, and that gives Oxford United a 3-2 lead after trailing twice. From a Luton point of view, this was atrocious defending, and it really was the case that that's the side of the game that let them down, was they were terrible defending set pieces, but also there was a lot of occasions where Oxford men were getting into those advanced areas, were causing Luton problems, not being tracked as much as Luton fans would have liked, and Oxford take full advantage. As you can see by the overall second half stats, these shots are all kind of very wild efforts, none of them on target. This is a sign of a pretty desperate Luton, especially in these two moments here. As we're level, Morris hits his man, and this wild one from McGuinness as they're trying to get level. We looked the better side in the second half, but I will say I thought Luton controlled the ball a bit better in terms of there was less wasted passes from a Luton perspective. But at the end of the day, I couldn't give a hoot. We came back from 2-1 down to win this game 3-2, and as you can see, this just paints a picture that, like I say, they were the better side with the ball in the second half, more total accurate passes, much higher percentage in our half. That's mostly towards the end of the game. Very, very happy though to have these, because like I say, to come from behind in something we've not done an awful lot this season, scoring from set pieces. Very, very happy. Let's go through the lineup then, shall we? So, Jamie Cumming, he makes a big save. I think it's shortly after McGuinness gets the opener. After the opener is scored anyway from Krauss, and he makes a really big save to deny Luton a second goal. Should he do better on the one that he can't claw out of the goal? It's one of those tricky ones, because again, it's an old, well-trodden cliche we talked about before on the channel, that goalkeepers shouldn't get beaten at their near posts. But I think probably from Jamie's perspective, he's expecting Peter Kioso to deal with his man. He's expecting many of the defenders ahead of him to deal with the man and deal with the ball before it gets in front of him. But I think maybe he should have done a little bit better. Peter Kioso, Greg Leigh, found a little bit wanting defensively, but again in the attacking phase, both linking really, really well with their wide men. Other than that though, I think obviously Greg is beaten for the first goal, PK's beaten for the third goal, or for the second goal I should say. Not great from those two from a defensive point of view, but I thought in the attacking phase it looked pretty good. Ciaron Brown, this man, at the minute, obviously touch wood, he has not let Gary Rowett down. Steps up in the big moments, big challenges, big interceptions with those key defensive actions. Ciaron Brown so far is in the running for our player of the season. And with reportedly his contract running out at the end of the campaign, I think the club will be very, very desperate to get into negotiations and finalise that to give the Northern Ireland international a longer contract here at Grenoble Road. Michal Helick, obviously a brilliant goal, much like Ciaron Brown, as I mentioned a little bit ago. again, in the early stage of the game, 1 or 2 questions, I think, on how he was dealing with the runners. But I thought he really improved afterwards. Didn't have an awful lot go wrong in the second half. And I thought Helick was really, really good. Will Vaulks is a beautiful assist for Greg Leigh's goal. And I think Will's another player like Ciaron Brown. He's not let Gary Rowett down, and he's got a new lease of life. I don't know what it is, because we were trying to play this kind of double pivot system under Des a little bit, with Brannagan allowed to be a bit more adventurous. I don't know if it's because Cam's being asked to be that much more defensive that Will Vaulks has suddenly become a much better player. But he's looked really, really impressive. Will Vaulks, he looks like a new signing. The impact he's had so far under Gary Rowett. Brannagan obviously gets 2 assists. Of always, as I've said, Cam will run his arse off. There's no doubt about it. Cam is always Mr. Reliable for this football club, and it's nice to see it for the assist for Ciaron, that his set pieces have got ever slightly better, because we were talking about in videos gone by that Cam's set pieces are as good as they can sometimes be. Have been pretty dire at times this season. Shemi Poheta, another really, really good performance from Shemi. Obviously unlucky not to be awarded a free kick for the foul committed on him. Another player like Will Vaulks looks like a new signing. Even though he wasn't involved in a goal against Luton, it was definitely a case that Shemi Poheta, he went under the radar, but he did the important things well, I thought. Ciaron Dembele, so again we've got this weird thing with Ciaron in that he's trying to do a bit too much. We know he's got immense skill, he's got immense talent, but he's trying to do a little bit too much. He's picking the wrong battles. He's trying to face up to players that are taller and stronger than him, so he's getting muscled off the ball very, very easily. I would like to see perhaps if we get in either another wide man in this window, or we get in a number 10, or play Ole Romani out wide, I should say. I would like to see Ciaron Dembele as a number 10. I think it'd be quite interesting, because he, at least for those small bits he had to do in the cup when playing centrally, I thought he looked okay. Matt Phillips, he improved in the second half, but it was an improvement on a first half where he was very, very quiet. Not an awful lot Matt Phillips did right. And I'm always trying to be very wary of not going in on certain players as often as is kind of among the Oxford socials have really gone in on Matt Phillips, especially after the Luton game. I'm trying not to do that, but the problem is when he's being played in these areas where you're expecting, because he's such an experienced player, because his footballing brain is so much more advanced than the rest of the players on the pitch, you're expecting him to have a major impact, and he's not having that at the minute. Like I say, I thought he did look a bit better when, in the few moments that he was making runs down the wing, but yeah, in my opinion, Ruben Rodriguez, obviously, he was rested after having a bit of, I think it was hamstring injury is what Rowett said during training during the week. Louis Sibley, I think Ole Romani, I think there are a few players ahead of Matt Phillips, especially for the 10, and then obviously in the wide areas, if we get another winger in, I think Matt Phillips has to now go down as an experienced player to come on in the last minutes of games to help kill them off. How many of those we'll get this season, we'll have to wait and see. Another not good performance by Matt Phillips. And you could kind of say the same thing for Mark Harris. Very quiet. Didn't get into too many decent shooting opportunities. And for the most part, Sparky, there is the argument he was working off scraps from the players behind him. But yeah, very kind of subpar performance from Mark Harris, definitely. So off the bench, all 5 used once again. Alex Matos came on and again had another pretty good performance for the short amount of time he was on the pitch. I just love how Matos is, he's any chance he can get, he wants to launch himself into a challenge. Really, really good play also in the attacking third. It looked like when he was brought on that he was playing more as the 10 than Brannagan was. I was expecting it to be a Will Vaulks, Alex Matos, double 6 and then Brannagan slightly further forward, but it looks like Matos was the man in the 10, and I thought he played pretty blooming well in that role, given that he's mainly like an 8 or a 6. I thought he looked pretty good in the 10 role. Bradshaw again came on, much like against Blackburn, didn't have the ball an awful lot. There was 1 or 2 chases he had on the ball, didn't amount to an awful lot, but the one thing I would say for Bradshaw is what I hope we see from Matt Phillips is that he's got that, because he is at an advanced age, he knows what to do to really irritate defenders. And I think I'm not sure how many goals he's going to get, as I talked about in the transfer video, but what I will say is I think he's going to be useful to frustrate the fuck out of championship defences. Hideo Turdovescu came on and didn't have an awful lot to do. He was brought on in that quite odd wide midfielder, but can be morphed into a wing back sort of role that we've seen Rowett deploy before. Fine, didn't know an awful lot overall. And then Ruben Rodriguez and Louis Sibley came on for basically no minutes, ran around a bit, and good with, like I say, with the fact that Rowett said there was some kind of hamstring thing that Ruben's been dealing with. He got just a few minutes on the pitch to try and get back up to full fitness. Also good that Sam Long was back on the bench. I thought that was going to be a lot longer of an injury that he sustained at Plymouth, but he's back in the matchday squad, and if need be available for selection. And he also did the thing you don't see very much, which is get booked as a substitute because he was messing around with the ball on the sidelines. It was not the most convincing of wins under Gary Rowett, but it is a much needed 3 points. And what that does to our season is it takes us from 15th to 14th. It gives us a lovely 9-point gap over the relegation zone. Obviously, Portsmouth having won their game. Obviously, they've still got 1 in hand, but that moves them out of the drop zone. So Hull are the side we are now measuring in the drop zone, and we are 7 points off of the playoff spots. Obviously, as I said after the Blackburn video, we're not dreaming of playoffs. We're not even considering playoffs. That's completely unrealistic. This run of form under Gary Rowett has been incredibly important for our survival in the Championship, which is what it's all about this campaign. If we end the season now and we sat 15th, or 14th I should say, I'd snap your hand off. I think most Ox fans would snap your hand off if we finished 21st and survived on goal difference. But yeah, that's the one thing we do need to work on, is our goal difference. Still sat on a -10, having conceded 43 goals. We need to start, converting some of the chances we're getting, and it's it's one of those things we've got to start converting our chances. We need to start being a little bit more ruthless, because we had one or two opportunities before Luton got their second goal, and if it weren't for shoddy defending on Luton's part, we might have gone on to draw, maybe lose this game. So we need to be a lot more clinical in front of goal, no doubt about it. Obviously, we've got about a week of the transfer window left to go. We know Ryan Longman isn't coming in. That was confirmed. It's all but confirmed he's off to Wrexham. So we're back in the market for a wide man, but we'll wait to see what the club can come up with. Let me know your thoughts on Oxford's 3-2 win over Luton under the lights at Grenoble, and I'll see you next time.